Yes, folks, the third recording for the year. You see, they're very simultaneous, eh? Tutoi nguo, mazee jua inawaka. The temperature range here is 29 to 31 for the last 2 weeks or so. It's yani ni kunoma. It's crazy. So hata si unajua kama mvua iko pia kuoga ni una save maji. Yeah, it's a capacity. So the conversation about CBC and how it's being implemented, and of course, is it yesterday? The Kiharu, is it not the Kiharu? It's Kiharu MP Didi Nyoro launched the Masomo Bora initiative, where there were a raft of measures on that is implementing in his constituency. I think it covers 2 sub-counties within the constituency, or did I get that wrong? Muranga and Kahuro or something, Muranga East or something. And then there's the topic of 500 shillings per term that is paid by a parent from 1,000 shillings. And then there are expense paid trip to Singapore, or they can opt for Malaysia. And I tell you, I wish this MP was from my village. Yeah, he's really doing a great job. But you see, with politics, you're pushed to the point that it still exposes the cobwebs that were there, because they're saying, oh, Didi Nyoro is the same one who pushed the finance bill. It was to be implemented that led to the protests, and so we cannot forget. But all in all, what we are saying is, can the other MPs from other regions, from Luo Nyanza, from Garissa, from Northeastern, from the other side, Turkana, Marsabit, to the coastal region, Kilifi, just look at what this Didi Nyoro is doing and try and replicate it? Or there's a guy on Facebook who works on data. I don't want to mention his name, but he was doing data by data per county, and there was one on Bomet, and you look at the expenditure, people traveling to outside the country for benchmarking on some pretty little simple things they can do over Zoom meeting, or they can just go to a well-established startup and learn about them, or they can enroll for a degree course or a diploma and understand them, but it's us the citizens who put them on. Folks, it was the sheep, now it is you. It's not gonna work. So you tend to wonder, what is wrong with Kenyan leadership? It is the citizens, it is the voters, because they come in every election here, hoodwinkers, we elect them, they go away, we cry, then it comes election season, they come with goodies, and you are like, ooh, he's still the best, he's still the best. So I'm trying to imagine the level of impact that the MP for Kiharu has brought to his constituents, and the people even saying, he's being propped up to become president. And we're having this thread of conversations on Facebook on, so what if he's being propped up? If he's being propped up for yeah, so we're saying, oh, somebody is being propped up for president, so they're giving him money, they're bankrolling him. Oh, 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 and I keep asking myself, why do we entirely have this narrow thinking when it comes to development? I mean, if the MP is not performing, why don't you just vote them out? Elections are coming, you know. If your MP has not, if he has not reached the benchmark that the Kiaru MP has put, then I think he just needs to go home, whether or not Dede Nyoro facilitated the finance bill or not. It's not an excuse not to bring development to your people. Whether or not some are saying he was the chair of the public accounts committee, so he used to divert or add privileges to more funding. And you know, there's like a flat figure, let's say like 100 million, that almost every constituency receives. But then, based on a lot of issues, marginalization, equity, or whatever, so you find some getting 180 million, some 150 million. But there's that amount that a constituency gets that they can do a meaningful work with it. And what you're saying is, most of these MPs do not reach that threshold. They don't, that threshold is not reached. So, dear voters, if we are going to the elections next year, the benchmark is Kiaru. Yes. And of course, the thread also included someone saying, this was pretty nice. He was saying, the benchmark for our leaders is no longer verbose and grandiose English in parliament. And I said, voila, our people are rising. Oh, we are going to have beautiful elections. But people can say that your English no longer matters, that your intellect no longer matters, because you people have been crying, oh, our constituents keep begging us for money, so we need a fund. And then and there you are given some little distraction over there, no editing, uncut, unedited. So, oh, we need the CDF because our constituents keep begging us for money. So we need that fund, we need that CDF so that you can support them. And when you get the money, you don't support them. There are some who to an extent, they do not use the CDF, they don't say anything in parliament. Anyway, uko tu inintie. Wow. You see, it's so easy to tell when someone is angry when they divulge to their local language. I just did it. So the entire conversation about CBC is actually on what I've just talked about. It's development. It's what structures are you supplementing the government as a member of parliament, as a governor, as an MCA, so that the national government that diverts fund or divulges or budgets for other not supplementary, but budgets for other positions, so that you don't say that you're using your salary to develop a constituency. Like, it really makes sense for them to do that. And how are you supporting the implementation of CBC? Of course, it's a system that is still not understood, you know. I was asked some questions about CBC and I thought I knew. And it's like somebody knows, so they want to know what do you know, so that they counter it. Then you counter it, and then it's like, okay, let's look for an expert. And then you do not have an expert close, because You even want to ask a teacher and they do not understand it because maybe only a few of them went to that training. You know, there was that training that was being implemented by TSC. There was some training, and there was that training has been implemented by TSC, and I don't think if it's all the teachers that are involved, so that they now do not say the curriculum implementation is difficult. That is a part of CBC I want to talk about, but now relating it to radio. And how beautiful were your radio days in primary? I remember in class 4, was it 3, 4, 5? We used to have a radio lesson where they would tune into a radio program on KBC, and would listen entirely to a radio lesson. You know, if it is math, if it is Kiswahili or English or some history, you know, like you break away from the norm of chalk dust, caning. This is really beautiful. How is it possible that I had never thought about that? That you could break away from the chain of chalk and dust and caning and ridicule, so that you're entirely listening to radio, you know, and you just ask questions and you're not beaten, because it is not the teacher who is teaching. It is not his knowledge now. It is someone else on the back end, you know. And how did I miss that? Ouch. Ouch. I got it. So, and then I was looking at the results of KCSE, and there are schools that still do building and construction. There are schools that still do aviation. There are schools that still do electronics. And something that I told myself is, that is where the inequality is. What is the essence of introducing CBC? Yet the components of what was supposed to be implemented are still visible amongst us. Like, there's some schools which are doing some subjects that you only hear them when you're looking at that exam timetable. You know, there's some lessons I saw, some exams that I saw on exam timetable in high school, and I was like, why didn't they allow us to do the same things? You know, why was it secluded to just a few schools? You know, and even that time when they were trying to bring in maths, alternative A maths, alternative B science, you know, those shenanigans, you know, and for me, I just used to tell myself, I'm doing alternative A, whatever it is, I'm doing alternative A. I'm not pushing myself to go and do something that rewires me again after struggling with maths from primary. Then you're telling me, oh, after all that difficulty, just switch to alternative B. So the essence of radio, I believe, was that to calm things down, to make you feel like it's not only the teacher who is teaching you that is there. There are so many other teachers, and you don't need to be too disciplined. Unaweza jiachilia kidogo. You can, you know. So I hope with the CBC curriculum that there's an aspect of radio that is brought in. I think at some point there should be an aspect of television that is brought in, so that people can see, students can see, people can listen and clearly understand what they're being taught, so that you have audiovisual support, you know, learning aids, listening aid, whatever. They are there to support the child, the learner completely. And especially for radio, you know, it should be used across all the other schools which do not have access to internet, to Wi-Fi, you know, so that whatever they're not able to get in class, then they can get it from radio. They can get it from, the teachers can do videos, you know, and they can watch. You know, seeing is believing. That is the essence of going to school, you know, to believe and most importantly to question, you know. You question, these are true heroes. This is things that my grandfather learned about them. Is it? My father learned about them, my grandfather, and now me and my kids are going to learn the same. Yet, for me, I've grown up and I've understood. I used to listen to them on radio. But I've grown up and now I'm looking at them and say, they're not my heroes. Those folks are thieves. Those folks are land grabbers. You know? Because now you've grown up, you moved away from radio, you've moved away, now you've gone to the field, and now you're hearing them live, mundu ku mundu. It's a one-on-one thing. And you're like, hey, Ati so-and-so was a freedom fighter. You learned it on you saw it on your history book. You listened to it you saw them on TV, and you're like, wow. So, sorry, now you start unlearning, and you're like, that is not a freedom fighter. Someone who stole land, someone who took away people's property. Someone who is involved in a scam, that is not a freedom fighter. There should be no standards. There is nothing like, oh, he was a freedom fighter, so he should be allowed to steal. Like, now it is his time to steal. Like, that is his reward. So he fought for freedom, so let's now allow him to steal. Like, that doesn't make sense. I'm inspired by Professor Kivuda Kipwana. Of course, you have a right to choose who you want to be inspired by, but not motivated. I don't like that one nowadays. He was a governor, also, or he served as an MP, or he was in the other regimes. But now he served as a governor 2 terms. Was it Kitui or Makueni? But he was a governor, that's all I know. He was a governor, served for 2 terms, and after serving, finished his term, and I saw him, he went back to teaching in university, you know? And I was like, how many of our MPs or elected leaders can go back to teaching? But you see, now here is where the problem is because maybe some have those questionable certificates, so you cannot be given an opportunity to teach in a university, because even that university knows you never attended the university. So ouch, that is painful. So why would they allow a quack to come and teach in the university? So for you, you'd rather get old in civil service, in being an MP. That's why you see someone is old, but they just want to keep fighting for this thing, because they know, aside from politics, they cannot survive. They lose a position and they just die, like nothing else to give back to the country, except thuggery, theft, and scams. That's all they can give. But mwanasiasa ati quit. Like you hear this Uh, but Willie Dowell is a legend because now he's the only one who was quit to defend, was it to defend, to vie for president of the country. Eli Dowalo is a patron for Gor Mahia. He's resigned and I love the way he resigns. He says, I want to stand for this post, and after reflection, there's no way I can serve in this government, and I want to fight for president. But for him, what I love about him is, it's a strategic management think tank. So even if he fails, he goes back to his private service and still does wonders. So, the people who you cannot tell to do such a move. Ha! Ha! There are people you cannot tell to quit government so that they can go and try such a move. You've finished them completely. Umemaliza ye Haji. So very smart ones, those are the ones who can pull such moves. People like Moses Kuria, who has 1,000 lives, 1,001 lives, or is it 9 lives? The cat for the cat is 9 lives. Maybe mefika 9 because na Moses naye amechoma, but iko sawa, itakuwa sawa, bado siasa inaendelea. So it's important that conversations about CBC are now not only pegged on the technical aspects, but also on the development aspect. And especially these members of parliament, what are they supporting the current regime? Because wanapatiwa pesa, there's a budget for them to implement some projects. Where are they taking the money? And for what particular reason? For, that budget is supposed to go to some particular things, Mostly it's to construct schools, to do some small road projects and everything. So there's like a benchmark, there's like a checklist. So like you say, Nyakach constituency, there's a checklist: roads, schools, support a university, bursary, some empowerment, hapa na pale. So like it does not go beyond that. You not find something like construction of a C1, of a country road, government road, or something that is left for the government. But that is the thing they have to mobilize for. Putting up electricity poles, that is the work of Kenya Transmission, whatever company. So there are things that are for the government, there are things that now the MP does based on the budget has been given. That's why we carefully ask, if we would go to the elections and we have that checklist, are they going to succeed? So are they development conscious to support the CBC program? And also, are they such intellectually endowed to have conversations on how to remodel the CBC so that it is not used as a tool for indoctrination and cultivating a culture of zero conversations or no tolerance to philosophy, the thought process, ability for people to think. Because if we continuously push the nation to have a society that, you're churning out a society of watu wa mkono, then when they sit, what do they think about? These people need to be able to do kazi ya mkono and to do intellectual work, because thinking is work, intellectual work is work, to do research, to do conversations, to do reporting, to do all those sort of things, and still be able to do your small manual work, to do your plumbing there, to do your construction there. We're not questioning anything bad about that, but the CBC program curriculum should be able to give that flexibility so that we are not pushing away our conversations and saying we just need to have a society that is ready to make money and live. Like we are on this earth to question everything. So our kids, our brothers and sisters must be given an opportunity to question everything. Why is it raining for 1 month, then it stops raining? Why is the sky no longer blue? Why is it that sometimes it is the clouds are just there and there's sun, you know? Why are our leaders misbehaving, you know? Why is Leader X stealing and taking to church? You know, because these are things they hear on radio, on TV. So why is Leader X implicated in a certain crime? And we are still seeing the same people, like the vetting authority, approving them to run for office, you know. Children must be allowed to question that. They must be allowed to question, why was Teacher X involved in a sexual harassment case and was transferred to a distant school, and yet our friends told them, I saw your teacher in our school. So did they remove them from the job, or they just transferred them so that we have a safer environment, you know, an environment where you can question the real lessons of life, and so that radio conversations are worth listening to, TV conversations, programs are worth watching, and newspapers are worth reading. Again, online streams, social media are worth spending your time browsing, or whatever you call that. So yes, radio is very important. Radio was important for us while in school. I'm trying to push away this conversation while growing up. I think some people get offended. We will all grow up at some point, and we'll all use that term at some point. So radio was important. Radio was and is still important for us in early days in school, and it's still important for us when you're listening to news where we cannot access the internet. Well, it's intermittent, let me use that word. So the technical aspects of CBC I cannot speak about. I said I'm not an expert. I'm just watching from a distance, and I hope I can really get to have this conversation with someone like a teacher who's gone through the program, the capacity building, so that I completely understand CBC, so that when I'm relating it with 844, there's a semblance of it's better, or it's should be implemented this way so that it works. Yeah, but to that end, I think there was a complaint by some teachers on the 13th of January on CBC, junior secondary. I think they're complaining about they want autonomy, they want their own calendar, they want some 20,000 teachers to be onboarded. Very valid concerns. So when you're saying 20,000 teachers, those are a lot of teachers, you know, because one teacher can handle like averagely say 50 students. So 50 times 20,000, you know, you're looking at 1 million students. So you can see the gap that is there, and the government needs to really work on that so that CBC really works. You know, we moved from, I'm talking about CBC, but you know, we moved from CBC to CBE. So I don't know, by the time this year maybe we'll move to CPE. Is it certificate of No, we were at CBC, CBE. I don't know if you're going to move to CBD, but now CBD cannot be used because CBD means a whole totally different thing. So I hope we work on our education, we work on the education system and give the learners the best in terms of wellness, edutainment, and philosophia. Yeah. So greetings from the village.